to do two sections together, actually. So 1.5 is really easy. The first question looks like this. All right, you guys should know how to solve this by now. So I subtract 5, and I get 4x equals 16. That's a 6. And then I divide by 4, and x equals 4. That is the basics of 1.5. Also, they have some distributive property things in there that I want you to do. None of the answers for the distributive property questions actually come out looking very nice. So, for example, I'll do number 31, and that is probably actually the cleanest looking answer. So I have 2x minus 4 equals 3 minus 5 times 2x plus 1. So most of the time, you know, you got the right answer if it comes out to a whole number. Any of them that you have to use the distributive property does not come out that way, just so you guys know ahead of time. So I'm going to, my first step will be to distribute the 2 throughout the parentheses that it's next to, and the 5 throughout these parentheses. So I will have 2x minus 8 equals, nothing happens to this 3, so I'll have 3 minus 10 x minus 5. So don't forget, that's one of the a big mistake that you see sometimes is this negative sign also has to be distributed through. I'll get all my numbers on the same side, and then I will get all my x's on the same side. So I'm going to subtract, or I'm going to add 8 to both sides. I'm going to write it at the end so that I can just add like terms. And so I'll have 2x equals, and then I'm going to have 3 minus 5, so that gives me negative 2 plus 8. So negative 2 plus 8 will be positive 6. So I will have negative 10x plus 6. Then I'm going to add 10x to both sides, plus 10x. And I will get 12x equals 6. And then I will divide by 12. Okay, so one mistake that you often see then is just saying x equals 2. Okay, remember that just because 2 goes into it doesn't mean I can flip-flop where things are. So 6 divided by 6 is 1, and I'm trying to make this common mistake. And 12 divided by 6 is 2, and so your answer is 1/2. So for 1.5, I want you to do numbers 3 through 30 by 3s. And that's on page 133. I'll rewrite that at the end as well. Then we're going to go on to section 1.6. Okay, now for 1.6, we will do linear inequalities. So inequalities are these little signs. So I have greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or we also have greater than and less than. I always call these my little anime symbols because I make little angry Japanese people out of it. Okay, so the first example they have is 3x minus 5 is less than 6 minus 2x. Okay, so the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my numbers on one side and my letters or variables on the other side. I always like my variables on the left side. Okay, it just makes it easier to actually read. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides. And at the same time, I'm going to do it all in one line. I'm going to add 5 to the other side because I just don't like taking up room. Okay, so I will have 5x is less than 11. I will then divide by 5. Okay, so I have x is less than 11 over 5. Okay, then it wants you to graph it on a number line. So I'm just like in my head going to say 11 over 5 is pretty close to 2. It's a little bit bigger than 2. So on my number line, I'm going to have 0, 1, 2. And then I will have an open dot for greater than or less than. So these are open, and these will be closed dots. So maybe that's how I should make my little angry Japanese people. And then I have right here, so this will be 11 halves. That should be an open circle, sorry. So then I will have an open circle, and since it's less than, it will go to the left. As long as you keep your variable on the left side, this arrow will point whatever direction your greater than or less than signs will go to. That's one easy way for people to remember it. The next example they have is 13 minus 7x is greater than or equal to 10x minus 4. Okay, so I'm going to get my letters on the left side. So I'm going to subtract 10x minus 10x. At the same time, I'm going to subtract 13 so that I can get that over here. And I can do that in more than one step if I don't feel comfortable doing that. So I'm going to subtract, so negative 17x is greater than or equal to negative 17. Then I'm going to divide by negative 17. And the one rule you guys need to be aware of, whenever I multiply or divide by a negative, I'm flipping this sign. So x is less than or equal to 1. Okay, so write that down maybe at the top of your paper. So divide or multiply by a negative switch the sign. So we're going to see how this thing reads my handwriting. Not very well when I do that. So let's go to my mouse. So divide or multiply by a negative. Switch the sign. That is one rule you need to remember. And don't, like what a lot of people do is just say, oh, I'm dividing. I need to switch my sign. It's only by a negative. This is the important piece here. Okay, something I forgot to do for the last thing. When we write our solution, we can write it in set notation. I'm fine with just the number line. I'm going to forget about this because it asks for interval notation. So since it's less than 1, I'm going to start from negative infinity, and I'm going to go to 1. Since it has the equal sign underneath, I have a bracket instead of a bar. So if we were to go back over here to this one and write this in a interval notation, since it's less than, I'm going to start at negative infinity, and I'm going to go to 11/5 since it's not included. So since I don't have the equal sign underneath my greater than sign or my less than sign, I have a parentheses right here. And then when I come back to this guy, when I actually go ahead and do it on the number line, I have x equals 0 and x equals 1. I will then have a closed dot here, and I will point the direction of my greater than or less than sign. Okay, then example 2 has when we're solving basically multiple pieces at one piece. So I have 2x plus 5. So negative 3x is less than 2x plus 5, which is less than or equal to 7. We would also read this as 2x plus 5 is between negative 3 and 7. Okay. When I go to solve this piece, I'm going to do basically just one step at a time. I'm going to subtract 5 from the middle. I don't necessarily do it from both sides. I do it from every side, and think about it as this has 3 sides. So I'm going to subtract 5 from here, and I'm going to subtract 5 from 7. That will give me negative 8 is less than 2x which is less than or equal to 2. Then I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2, and divide by 2. So everything when I have these guys that are between things, I'm going to have 3 things that I'm doing every time. So this will be negative 4 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 1. On a number line, I have a straight line. Okay, I need to make sure that I have negative 4 and 1 on my number line. So I'll have 0, 1, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Since this does not have an equal sign underneath it right here, I will have an open dot. Let me give me some skinny lines. I will have an open dot at 4. And since this guy has an equal sign at the 1, I will have a closed dot at the 1. Since x is between these two numbers and everything is pointing to the left, I will get this guy. If you ever get an answer that happens to look like, I'll just give you something else that has absolutely nothing to do with this problem. Okay. If I had negative 5 is greater than or equal to x, which is greater than 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up into 2 separate pieces. Okay, and I'm going to write it so that my x is on the left-hand side of both things. So I'm basically, my one equation is really easy to see. This is basically one of my equations right here, or it is one of them. X is greater than 2. That's great. And then my other equation is this guy. And it says negative 5 is greater than or less than x. I really don't like saying it like that, so I'm going to flip-flop it, but I have to keep the arrow pointing at whatever it's pointing at now. Right now it's pointing at the x. So if I write the x on the left side, it still needs to point at the x. So x is less than or equal to negative 5. That's a whole lot easier to read. So if that ever happens where I'm dividing or multiplying by that negative number and I get these signs that flip-flop like this, my final answer for my equation piece will look like x is less than or equal to negative 5, and you'll see the word or. X is greater than 2. This is your entire answer. Don't leave part of it off because it says or. What that looks like on a number line, I need negative 5 and 2, so that's negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, I don't necessarily have to label everything. I'm fine if you just label and it can actually put everything where it goes. So at negative 5, I have a closed circle because of the equal sign underneath my security symbol. And I'm going to point the direction that it goes. On 2, it's greater than 2, so I have an open dot. It's not greater than or equal to, just strictly greater than. And then I will have my line going off that direction. Okay, this is what your answer would look like. In interval notation, I would write negative infinity up to 5, negative 5. Since it's included, it would have a square bracket, or instead of or, I write a U for union. Since 2 is not included in our solution set, it has a parentheses. I have 2, and that goes all the way to positive infinity, which will look like that. Okay, we're done with that one. When I come back over to this problem on the left to write it in interval notation, it is really easy. So negative 4 is not included, so it gets a parentheses. So I have negative 4 with a parentheses. And that goes to 1 with a square bracket because it is included because of the equal sign. So for homework from 1-5, you have numbers 3 through 30 by 3s. And that was on page 133. And then from page 142, I will just give you guys 21 through 33 by 3s. Can't read it at all. I can't write. So that is 21 through 33. And then I want you to do the skill maintenance and the synthesis on the very end of that. And that is going to be numbers 47 through 54. Not by 3s, so do all of those ones. So that will be, I just lost count in my head. So 8 and 5 and 10. So that'll be 23 problems to do for tomorrow, which is Thursday. And that you guys should be able to get that done to turn in for me too.